Welcome to This Week in Tiger Athletics. I'm your host, Haley White, and joining me now is Doyen Jabowu, a senior defensive back from Denver. Doyen was an All-American pick as a junior last season. He was a four-year starter for the Tigers, and he had 3 tackles in the FHSU 17-16 win at Northwest Missouri on Saturday. Congratulations on the win Saturday. How nice was it to go to Northwest for the second time and beat them on their home field?
Oh, I thought it was sweet the first time, but the second time was even sweeter. Whenever you can go in there and have success against that team, it's always going to be a good feeling. So.
Fort Hays is now the only team in the last 4 years to beat them on their home field, and you guys have done it now twice in a row. What does that say about your team and where you guys were last year and now this year?
It just goes to show the expectation of this program. Our coaches expect that we should beat that team every year, whether we're playing there or at home. Just so when I first came in here, that wasn't so much the expectation, even around the town. And now it just kind of goes to show the progress that this program has made and the leaps and bounds and where we're at, because it's expected out of us now.
Even though coaches try to preach one game at a time, was there something about this team that was looking forward to playing Northwest Missouri on the road again this season when the schedules were made?
I don't necessarily think so, because as the season began to unfold, we understood that we had to win every game for that game against Northwest for it to matter. So while there was excitement, leading up to it, I felt like there was focus on every game, and it was hard, having to put the game off to the side, but it was something that we had to do to actually reach that stage and be successful.
And your backs have been against the wall since that Emporia State loss. How has the mindset changed from that loss?
Every game is a championship game for us. Every game is a playoff game, because we know that we can't afford to lose. So having that mentality has been something that's been good for us, because when you feel like you have your backs against the wall and you have no choice or option but to win, it kind of changes your mindset, whether that's subconsciously or not. It changes the way you approach preparation and all those things.
And after that loss, some people may have counted you guys out when it came to the NCAA D2 playoffs. And now with Saturday's win over the Bearcats, you guys kind of have the control over your destiny now.
Yeah, it's nice. Some people didn't have faith in us, but obviously we believed in ourselves, and we've placed ourselves in a position to be successful and make a run in the conference and championship and the playoffs. So that just goes to show, when you have faith in yourself, really anything is possible.
What was the defensive mindset going into Bearcat Stadium?
We knew it was going to be a defensive battle because we had gone in there and done it before. So obviously the offense has some success, but going into a game like that, as a defense, you have to go in there with the mentality that you can't allow any points, because even if it's a safety or a field goal or whatever, you could potentially lose a game when you're matching up against a defense that's been historically as great as they have been. So that was just our mindset. We just had to go in there, execute, not give up points, and just help our offense whenever we possibly could.
And defensively, you guys did dominate most of the game and held them to 1 first down in the first half. Did you expect to have that much success? Given the team that you guys have this year? Oh, yeah, definitely.
It starts up front with those guys, man. Those guys dominated up front. And I was talking to one of my buddies actually a few days ago, and everyone on our defense, everyone really on our team, there's not a weak link. Everyone does their part, everyone executes, and everyone's a dog, if you want to put it in terms like that. But it starts up front, and then you go to the linebackers and the secondary. Everyone had, they executed and did their job. And when you have a D-line that's making it hard on the quarterback, it makes things easier for everyone else.
You held a dangerous Northwest offense to only 69 yards rushing and only 109 passing. That's nearly 140 yards less than what you gave them last year in the 13-12 win. What was it about this team playing so well defensively as opposed to last year's team?
I think, it's just bonding. When you play with each other for so long, you have experience, and certain things you don't have to communicate just because you know what your teammates want, what they expect out of you. And it's the same with the coaching staff. When you have a group of players that you've been with for so long, you know what they're comfortable doing. So I think just the fact that we've all been together so long played a huge role in our success this past Saturday.
And the defense also came up big after a turnover in the FHSU territory in Saturday's game, holding the Bearcats to a field goal instead of a touchdown. How much momentum did that stop give the defense early in the game?
I think it gave us a lot of momentum. Whenever you have a turnover, it's always huge for the defense to minimize the damage, not let them score. And I feel like some defenses, they think, oh, it's acceptable for the team to score when it's a turnover in the red zone, and that's not how we look at it as a defense. Regardless of whether we get the ball on the 1 yard line or our 1 yard line or their 1 yard line, our job is to make sure that no points are allowed. So that's always our mindset, and I feel like it's been instilled in us through Coach Harris, and all our defensive coaches, and that was kind of the mindset that helped us get that 3 points as opposed to 7.
Was there a lot of focus for the defense to produce 3 and outs during the week leading up to the game?
I mean, there's always focus to get 3 and outs. That's something that's consistent every week, regardless of who we're playing. Turnovers, 3 and outs, third down efficiency, those are all things that are harped on us all week, regardless of who we're playing. So that's always big.
Were you surprised at how many 3 and outs there were on Saturday's game?
No, I wasn't. I mean, we've played the game last year, and we went in telling those guys, like, look, we know it's going to be a defensive battle. Even when we got the interception on the first drive of the series, and we threw an interception, I was not really surprised at all. Obviously, I don't expect us to make mistakes on offense, but I just knew it was going to be a defensive battle. So I wasn't really surprised by the 3 and outs at all.
Redshirt freshman quarterback Chance Fuller had a few mistakes in the passing game on Saturday, but how big was it for him to make some plays offensively for you guys?
Oh, it was definitely huge. Him getting out of the pocket, extending plays, and those are his strong suits. Those are what makes him who he is. So they were definitely huge. His ability to extend plays on Saturday. And once we leave, I think this program is going to be in good hands.
And Dante Brown was clutch once again when you guys needed it. How big of an asset has he been to the team this year?
Oh, he's been huge, and I'm growing to expect it out of him, consistency, because he's been doing it consistently all year. So he's been huge for us all year, and hopefully he continues to have his success.
You're going to be in a battle when you go play Northwest on the road. What was the preparation like during the week, and what did the coaches tell you during halftime of the game on Saturday?
Well, the preparation was essentially the same. You don't want to, if you have to change what you're doing because you're playing a different opponent, then you're not doing something right as a team. So in terms of preparation, things were very similar. People were very focused, sharp in terms of execution. Coaches were very aggressive, in terms of, how they approached us and things like that. As for what, was said on halftime, I think it was kind of weird because when we were going into the locker room, their fans were ecstatic, and we were kind of like, we didn't understand it because they were still down. At that point. We went in the locker room and our coaches were just like, look, like, what you did in the first half doesn't matter. What matters is what you're going to do these next 2 quarters, and that was kind of the mindset we had, because you don't win the game in the first half. You win a game with 4 quarters of play. So. Right.
It looked like the game is going to come down to the defense making another stop late in the game, but the Bearcats are called for roughing the punter with just more than a minute left to play in the game, giving you guys a first down and the ability to run the clock out. What was going through your mind as that was happening?
Honestly, I was surprised. I mean, I was strapping up my helmet, talking to my guys like, hey, it's gonna come down to us. We gotta be aggressive. We gotta be relentless, and this is what we live for. And I was giving them the hoo-hoo rah speech, and I look back and I see Laundry on the field, and I was like, no way, like. Did he really just do what I think he did? And I was just like, wow, the game's over. Obviously, the game wasn't over. We still had to kneel and run the clock out. But in my mind, I'm like, the game is really over. Right. This guy just ended it for him. So I was very surprised. I was not expecting to end the game on the bench, but it was what it was.
Now there's 1 game left in the regular season, and it's senior day for you and a handful of the other players on the roster. How special is that game going to be for you Saturday?
Oh, it's going to be special. It's going to be emotional. Just the guys that I came in with, seeing us leave and seeing the things that we've accomplished together. So it's going to be very special, and it's going to be emotional for all of them, regardless of what they say. But yeah, it's going to be a great atmosphere and a good environment. Talk
about the environment of Lewis Field the last 4 years that you've been here.
It's steadily grown, and obviously that comes with the success of the program. I remember when I first played as a freshman, we had about 2,000 or so fans, at the games, and it's steadily increased to where now if we have 3,000 fans at the game, that's kind of a down game. So it's kind of changed over time, and that comes with the success of the program. So it's been a great atmosphere, and I'm definitely gonna miss it when I'm gone.
Did you see any similarities between Northwest fan base as Fort Hays' fan base as well? So do you like playing in a fan base like that, tough crowd, full house? How was that playing?
Oh, it's definitely always a fun atmosphere. In terms of similarities, I think our fans are better. I mean, I really don't see any similarities there just because I think we're better than they are. I think our students are better. I think our, alumni and all that stuff, I think we're a much of a better fan base, than those guys are. But in terms of the atmosphere, it's always great when you go in there and play, especially when you get the victory.
The team has won 4 in a row and is tied with Northwest for the conference lead. How big would a win Saturday be to give you guys the 2nd MIAA title in a row? for
It
you?
would be huge. You know, since I've been here, there have been a bunch of firsts, and this would be another first. So that's just, that's our goal, is to keep rewriting history and keep doing the undone. So it's going to be huge for us.
Northeastern hasn't won a game all season, so what will be the mindset this week in order to not, slack off a little bit?
Well, like I was saying before, the mindset's going to be the same. This is actually the conference championship game, so we can't slack off. We've already been doing film study, and they don't look bad at all. So our mindset's going to be the same as it's been the past 10 weeks. So there's not going to be anything that changes there.
You've had some opportunities to think about playing at the next level. Is it nice knowing players from the D2 ranks are starting to get more looks for playing in the NFL?
It's definitely awesome to see, especially with Nate Shepard, that's having the success that he's had, with the Jets. And I was actually watching the Chiefs, and there was another corner that we were actually playing with against Ferris State last year that I was watching play. So it's nice seeing those guys achieve their dreams and achieve their goals, even from the D2 level, and just seeing that everyone gets an opportunity regardless of where you're starting from.
Has that always been an aspiration of yours, is to play football at that next level?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever talked much about it, but I think, whenever you're in sports, it's always your aspiration to play at the highest level possible. So whether that be spoken or unspoken, I think for every athlete, it's a goal to play at the top level.
Saturday is going to be a big day with Senior Day, a conference title on the line, and a possible playoff spot on the line as well. Will it be hard to keep the emotions in check with everything you've given to the program so far?
Oh yeah, definitely. I could tell you as much as I want to that I'm a tough guy and I'm not going to cry or whatever, but when those emotions take a hold of you, you really don't know what you're going to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if I was out there bawling like a baby. But yeah, when the emotions take over, who knows what will happen. So it'll definitely be an emotional experience for me.
So when you look back at your FHSU career, what will be the most memorable?
You know what? If it was last week, I'd have told you our first win against Northwest. But now that we've done it twice, I don't know what to tell you. Oh man. I think I don't think there's going to be one particular memory. Obviously, going to Northwest, those are going to be two that I remember. But I think just the overall experience is going to be something that I remember and cherish for a lifetime. The relationships that I've built with coaches, with players, who I consider my brothers now. So I think it's just overall the experience is going to be something that I remember. But those two particular games, if you want to be more specific.
Well, thanks for joining me, Doyen, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
When we return, we will break down the rest of this week's schedule in athletics.
Five, 4, 3, 2, take it.
The Tiger Media Network is Fort Hays State University's independent student media organization. It's a student employment opportunity where you can work for either the news side or the sports side. So you can be on live sports production, which produces all of the live sports broadcasts that we do, or you could be on the news side and do news stories covering things on campus. So presidential announcements, Student Government Association. We bring that news to the student community and the Hays community as well.
You don't realize how much Fort Hays State has to offer until you're here.
It is definitely, this is a land of opportunity here.
I just got back from the MIAA tournament in Kansas City a couple weeks ago where we worked with other production crews including Pitt State and Central Missouri. And it's a great time. I've gone there the last couple years.
For me anyway, I get to do sports, which is what I love. And if live productions is where that's at, this is the perfect place to do it. We have almost everything that you could possibly imagine.
Tiger Media Network allows you the opportunity to take the skills you've learned and put them forward in a real world, real application setting that allows you to flourish and grow as a professional, and that will only help you and benefit you when you graduate and go into the real world workforce.
Welcome back to This Week in Tiger Athletics. Joining me now is FHSU SID Ryan Prickett, and he's going to help me break down the rest of the schedule of this week. So, as we talked with Doyen, FHSU football, they keep their MIAA title hopes alive with the 17-16 win in Maryville on Saturday.
Yeah, another huge win for football over there at Northwest Missouri. That's I know you mentioned it there with Doyen, the fact that no other team has gone into Maryville in the last 4 years, and beat Northwest Missouri other than Fort Hays State. And so 25-2 home record for them in that span, just sheer dominance. And they've been that way at home for a long, long, long time. So to go do that 2 years in a row, clip them by 1 point both times, and potentially this could mean another MIAA title for us. Obviously, nothing's sealed yet. I know a lot of people are excited and know that we have a game against an opponent that's struggled all year long this week, and they don't have a win yet on the season, but you still got to go into that game with the mentality of, hey, now it's right there for the taking for us. We've got to finish this thing. And so it's amazing to see how we've meandered our path to that potential MIAA title this year, but we've stayed in it this whole time, and we took our shot this last weekend, got it done, and now we see ourselves in position to maybe win a second straight MIAA title.
And the Tigers do jump back into the AFC rankings this week as number 22. Northwest is 19 on that.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, Northwest Missouri, I know we beat them head to head. You'd kind of feel like, well, should we jump them in the rankings, for that? But and we have the same record. But right now, I think the biggest things to worry about is not exactly what that national ranking is in front of you. It just tells you, well, both of you are top 25 programs. So, in Division II, I don't think 3 spots in the poll really means that much of a difference. So we're pretty even there. But, the fact that the things you're playing for going ahead now, it's the MIAA title this weekend. That's one crucial thing. And then the next is to stay in those regional rankings, which are imperative. And that's the biggest goal is, will you be playing playoff football at the end of the season? And as it probably will stand when we see the region rankings come out later on today, we'll see that I'm expecting us to move up to about 5 in the region rankings, and you have to be in the top 7 to get in the playoffs. So we're in control of our own destiny now. If we win, there's pretty much no doubt that we're going to be in the playoffs. It's just a matter of now we're going to get ourselves up there into a position of if we're on kind of that 4-5 line right now, if you can get to 4, that means you're going to host a first round home game. So this game this weekend not only means an MIAA title, but pending what goes on elsewhere in the region, especially with Indianapolis, who will probably be in front of us in the rankings. I'm thinking they're going to be in that number 4 hole. They have a very tough game this weekend at home. They're going to play another team that has the same record as them. They're both 9-1, and that team's regionally ranked in another super region, and they're right on the cut line to get in the playoffs. So they've got plenty of motivation to go in there into Indianapolis and potentially try to win that game. So who knows? We even after this week, we may even see another playoff football game in Hays for the second straight year in a row. So.
Right. And to move on with soccer, the men escaped the regular season finale with a 2-0 win over the University of Mary.
Yeah, I think escape is a good word for it. Being at that match was it was a weird match. I think we got about 25, 26 shots off in that match to their. I think they might have only threatened us a couple of times with a couple of shots, but. We were just in complete control of that match all night and just could not put a ball in the goal for the life of us. I don't know what it was. I mean, I swear there was one play where it ricocheted off the goalkeeper, off another guy, and then off a post. There was another one where, the guy, we made a good attempt at it, and the goalkeeper barely got his fingertip on it right before it hit the post or something. You're just like, oh my Lord. It's like, how many times are we going to have an opportunity to finally break through? But I guess, you put enough shots out there, eventually you're going to break through, and thank God we finally did with I think there was about 6 minutes left in the match or something like that. And then we poured another one in right after that, like about a minute later or something. It's like, so the levee finally broke, on the dam, basically. But good finish to the season for our men's soccer team. Obviously, now at 15-2-1 overall, they end the year on a 12-match win streak. Heck of an accomplishment by them. But also, we're looking now at probably hosting the NCAA Super Region. We're going to find that out here later today. So to those watching at home, by the time you watch this, we will know our fate if we are hosting the NCAA Super Region or not. So, but every indication we're getting right now, we've been number one in the Super Region rankings the whole time. We have those 2 head-to-head wins over Northeastern State, who's probably solidly in that number 2 spot, and so we are fully expecting to play them head-to-head again here on our home pitch, probably here in a couple of weeks, and we will be hosting the NCAA Super Region is what the plan is, and we'll see if that's what happens here later on. So,
the women didn't have the same luck, unfortunately. They fell to Central Oklahoma 3-0.
Yeah, and Central Oklahoma, I mean, we've talked about that throughout the year. Central Oklahoma was just on a different level this year. I was actually very shocked that they even took a loss in the regular season there, right? I don't know if it was about 2 weeks before the end of the season or whatever. Northeastern State managed to get them, which was really shocking to me. I don't know if they just had a really bad night and had an off game, but that Central Oklahoma team, knowing Central Missouri that won the national title last year, and after I watched Central Oklahoma play us here in Hayes, that's a team that I feel could do everything that Central Missouri did last year. And the fact that they just knocked off Central Missouri in the championship match on Sunday by a score of 6-1, I mean, they when they really want to put the gas pedal down, I mean, they are a very good team. So I don't feel disappointed at all that our season came to an end against them. I think our women did a tremendous job throughout the year, considering what had happened early in the year with a lot of the people going down due to injury and things like that. I think for them to finish 4th in the MIAA and reach that 10-win mark was an accomplishment in itself. And hats off to Blake Reynolds and his program for doing what they did this year. So.
3 FHSU wrestlers placed in their classes during the 10th annual Dan Harris Open on Sunday.
Yeah, good start to the season for the wrestling program. I mean, obviously they had their black and gold scrimmage back here in the middle of last week here at home to kind of, I guess, feel out who's going to be trying to battle for starting positions at each weight. But that's one of those early season tournaments that some of our guys opted to go to, and Isaiah Llewellyn at 165 pounds and McKeel Robinson at 184 pounds. They were both champions, and Devin on before, he was runner-up in the 133-pound weight class. So a good start to the season for our wrestlers, and we've got more action coming up this week with more tournaments. So.
Women's volleyball grabbed the opening set against Mo West on Saturday, but they ultimately fell to the Griffins on Senior Day. Yeah,
unfortunately, that was a kind of a disappointing way to end the year, considering that we got out to that 1-set lead. I really felt like things were going our way there early on, and then for whatever reason, right in the middle of the match, it's almost like all of our momentum, like somebody just popped the balloon and everything deflated. And in the 3rd set, we had a very bad stretch of, I think, giving up about 8 or 9 straight points. And I just feel like the feel of the match all kind of turned right there, where they seized set number 3, and then we just never regained that momentum. And so, yeah, the volleyball team, obviously an up and down year for them, going through the coaching change with Jessica Wood-Atkins here now, and she's going to start taking the program in the direction that she wants to take it. And but there wasn't really any bitterness or anything like that amongst the program. I think the team morale was good all year long, but for whatever reason, the MIAA is just a grind week in and week out, and it was just one of those years where, for whatever reason, we just didn't have what it took on some nights to just click and get more wins in the conference. So we'll see how Jessica does going forward with getting a new recruiting class in here, and hopefully getting the program moving back in the direction of the winning side. So.
And lastly for the week, the Fort Hays State men's cross country team finished 3rd at the 2018 MIAA cross country championship Saturday.
Yeah, another good showing for them. I think when we talked to Jason McCullough on the program earlier this season, it was brought up about how he thought they were going to compete on a conference and regional level. And Jason definitely predicted that he thought his team was kind of overachieving. A lot of people weren't picking them as high as what they did finish in the championships there the other day. So for them to finish where they did, I think that was a very good showing for them. But maybe that will also boost their confidence going into the NCAA regional now here in a couple of weeks, where they're going to go run at that and then see where the chips fall there. Sometimes with a bigger field of runners, even though you finish 3rd and 5th at your conference meet, sometimes with schools from all the other conferences and so on and so forth, it breaks up some of those position numbers, and then all of a sudden, if you can keep your team packed together, which was what he talked about, is getting his runners to gel together and just run in a pack throughout the race, which they kind of showed that there at the MIAA championships. That's something that actually is really good in a regional race, because you don't see these giant gaps between, like, oh, here our guy finished 20th and now our next guy finished 35th. If you can get bang, bang, bang right in a row, like 20, 21, 22, your team scoring actually goes a lot better, and it's a lot better in that regional format. So with as many teams that'll be competing there. So we'll see how they do. I was encouraged by seeing how they did at the conference meet, but I've seen years where a 3rd or 5th place team at a conference meet will all of a sudden go make a lot of noise at a regional, just because of the style of how they pack together as a team. So.
And a look ahead for this week. This Friday will be the season opener for men's and women's basketball. The women will be here on the 9th of November, and the men's, they will be on the road to Marshall.
Yeah, that's opening weekend for basketball's coming up right away. It's like we got all this other stuff going on. We got football talking about, trying to win a conference championship this weekend. Men's soccer potentially is going to be hosting a super region here in a couple of weeks. But look out, everybody, it's basketball season all of a sudden. And so we get it rolling this weekend. The women here at home, a couple of games against some opponents they've started the year with for, I think, maybe the last couple of years now. Southwest Minnesota and Upper Iowa have kind of served as our season opening games. They've just kind of rotated around the site of where we've been playing those games. And so hopefully our women get off to a good start. Obviously, we saw very encouraging signs with their results in exhibition play, taking Kansas to overtime, and K-State down to the last possession. Once again, we had a chance to tie or maybe even win the game. So to see how they did against those Big 12 programs, I think that's going to spell good things for us throughout the regular season. Now, the men, we didn't get to see any kind of comparative exhibition contests against anybody. So they're going to start their year up in Marshall, Minnesota against Sioux Falls and Southwest Minnesota State. Those served as a season opener last year, and I think we split between those two teams. Actually, Southwest Minnesota was ranked in that game last year to start the season, and we knocked them off, but then lost to Sioux Falls in kind of a barn burner matchup in a high scoring affair. So we're going to start with Sioux Falls and then play Southwest Minnesota. So we'll see how that opens up this year. A lot of things to just kind of figure out where we're at to start the year, and I guess we'll see what we got when we roll it out there here this Friday. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Ryan.
Okay, no problem.
That concludes this episode. Tune in next week for another episode of This Week in Tiger Athletics. As always, to stay up to date on the latest news and information throughout the week, visit tigermedianet.com.